Good morning. My name is Mr. Muloke, teacher of literature in English. Once again, I've come to continue with my presentation on how to analyze a novel in literature in English. In my previous presentations, I talked about so many literary devices. I talked about simile. I talked about metaphor. I talked about oxymoron, paradox, and others. Today I've come to you to continue with some literary devices which are very cardinal, because in literature you cannot be a literary scholar if you don't know, you have no idea of literary devices. The first literary device I'm going to talk about is assonance. What do we call assonance? Assonance is just a repetition of consonants, mostly at the beginning of the word. For example, someone can say a middleman. There is a repetition of M. So, in such a way, when we have repetition of consonants, we call it assonance. After assonance, let me talk about alliteration. Alliteration is just repetition of vowels. When vowels are repeated, maybe in different words which are following each other, it becomes alliteration. For example, I can say a madman, the repetition of a, those words, those three words. So it becomes alliteration. After alliteration, let me talk about one of the major literary devices we have in English. It's personification. You cannot be a literary scholar and you know literary devices without knowing what is personification. Personification is a literary device where features of a human being are given to things or animals. It can be also a literary device or a figure of speech where characteristics of human being are given to animals or things. In few words, you can say they have been personified. We give them features of a human being. For example, we have the book Animal Farm. Animal Farm, the whole book has just been personified. From the beginning up to the end, you see animals talking, speaking, animals playing some roles which human being can play. Remember, in the Animal Farm, the animals have taken over the role of a human being, of the master. So they try to do what a human being do. So, example of personification, I can say the bird was singing. You and I, we know a bird cannot sing. So that is personification. Another example of personification, you can say the crowd was crying. A crowd cannot cry. Crying is just proper for human being. That's one example of personification. Apart from personification, I want to talk about hyperbole. Hyperbole is just a literary device where the speaker or a writer try to exaggerate. What is to exaggerate? To exaggerate is to give more weight. To give more weight to a thing or something it doesn't deserve. For example, I can say, this is the greatest man in the world. You and I, you understand, the human being cannot be the greatest man in the world. For example, another example, I can say, the vehicle was flying from here to Lusaka. You and I, we know that a vehicle cannot fly. Just hyperbole, just to exaggerate. Those are the literary devices I wanted to share with you today. The first one was assonance. After assonance, I talk about alliteration. After alliteration, personification. And the last one is hyperbole. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube page. Continue following me until we meet again. Goodbye.